sometimes our own people are our own worst enemies. And oftentimes, a full stomach does not remember what an empty one feels like.
Every generation that has ever made it in America tries to lean back and pull the bridge up behind them.
The rhetoric is toxic, but toxicity sells. That's the problem. That's the problem that we are facing. So am I concerned about the rhetoric? Absolutely. Am I concerned about the fact that this is Trump 2.0 now that they have learned from Trump 1.0? Very concerned about that.
If you look at traditional Indian values, we value hard work, we value education, right? We value entrepreneurship. It's like if you look at the tapestry of what is Indian culture per se, you have some of these pieces, but none of these pieces align with what Mr. Trump is doing. He's a convicted felon who's been accused of sexually assaulting women, who's been committed fraud, who's a con artist, who doesn't believe in education. I mean, in what world does Indian ideology align with this? Except for us being able to say, well, we came, we made a bunch of money, right? And then we want to pull up the bridge behind us. You're seeing this in the rhetoric of Vivek Ramaswamy, and you're seeing it in the rhetoric of Nikki Haley, and you're seeing this, right? Which is that every generation that has ever made it in America tries to lean back and pull the bridge up behind them. That's true across the board. In every community, you'll see it. And you're seeing it now, right? You're seeing it play out in the Indian community. Why? Because for the first time, we have a seat at the table. And so we now have to say, well, okay, if you have a seat at the table, then how do we get you away from the table? And that's what you're seeing play out in some of this rhetoric.
I have had clients say to me certain really derogatory things about other immigrants. For example, if you're an Indian national, you don't consider a Haitian immigrant to be on the same level as you because they're different. Well, and then, of course, if you are a Trump supporter, you're looking at the Indian national and the Haitian immigrant as being equal in the same boat. I think the issue at hand is really, really nuanced, and there's a lot of hypocrisy even in the communities that I represent.
Speaking of dreams falling apart, when Signature View Apartments was built in 2010 in Delhi, potential buyers couldn't have imagined that their roofs would be collapsing just a few years in.
ये पूरी छत नीचे आई गई है, ये पूरी जो आप देख पा रहे हैं। और भगवान ना करे अगर अटकेगा आ गया तो यहाँ एक नहीं सैकड़ों आदमी मरेंगे।
Ceilings coming crashing down, walls collapsing, and chunks of balconies falling on cars below. For 336 families in North Delhi's Mukherjee Nagar, their dream homes had quickly turned into their worst nightmare. Built in 2010, Signature View Apartments was declared unfit for habitation after a structural audit by IIT Delhi in 2022, which recommended it be demolished. 2 years on, the residents are still in limbo. It was a matter of life or death for them.
My father, room was that one. He is not able to walk because he's 94 years old. He was just walking to the sofa area, and all of a sudden this entire area has fallen.
I was watering my plants in the balcony, and it just, I guess, 3-4 seconds hoga, I went inside and dhadam se upar se pura balcony ka chhat fell.
Cracks on the walls started appearing soon after the first residents moved in. Following the first few complaints to the DDA, a new problem arose. The grit wash, which is the textured finish made with cement and crushed stones that covered the building's outer walls, started falling out in clumps, sometimes bringing down chunks of concrete with it. And when the DDA did agree to remove the grit wash in 2014, they realized that the steel reinforcements holding the buildings together had corroded.
Because of corrosion, they have even reduced in the size and broken. ड्यूरिंग कोविड हमारे घर की छत ड्राइंग रूम की पूरी एक काफ़ी बड़ा हिस्सा अपने आप ही गिर गया.
Several surveys were conducted by the National Council of Cement and Building Material, which recommended hiring a structural consultant. By 2021, the society WhatsApp group was flooded with photographs and videos of falling roofs, damaged balconies, and cracks on the walls.
It is at that time he instructed the chief engineer to engage IIT Delhi, structural consultant, and then ask them to do a structural testing.
The IIT report was damning. Detailed testing revealed the high presence of chlorides to be the primary cause of damage. The concrete structures were found to be of low grade and provided inadequate protection to the reinforcement. IIT recommended all the 12 towers be demolished and categorized them from least to most dangerous. Dharmendra's flat in L block was one of the most dangerous.
मिडनाइट में फिर वैसे एकदम आवाज आई, लेकिन उस दिन एकदम ना ऐसे ऐसे गिरा. पहले एक जगह से पैच गिरा तो मैं समझ गया था, तो मैं बाहर नहीं निकला. वो अपने डोर के इधर से ही देखा और ऐसे जैसे नहीं कोई चीज क्रिस्टल वगैरह ऐसे गिरते हैं, वैसे वैसे गिरते 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 चला गया.
Several RTIs later, and armed with the IIT report, the residents approached Delhi Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena in 2023.
Ultimately, what happened is the LG took a very stern view. LG also directed to explore an option, whether it's buyback, swapping of the flats, or reconstruction.
After 6 months of negotiations, the DDA came to the residents with an offer. They would demolish the existing 12 towers and reconstruct the property. They also agreed to pay residents rent for 3 years. But there was a catch. The DDA would only start paying rent once all the 336 families had moved out. The residents couldn't all agree to move out at the same time, and some also had issues with DDA's plans of building 168 additional flats when they did reconstruct the society. The matter went to court. On December 23rd, 2024, the High Court ordered residents to vacate the complex in 3 months. The court castigated DDA, saying its delinquency and gross negligence was unpardonable.
तो सोचते थे कि अब हमारा सब कुछ ये लास्ट है, वी विल कंक्लूड आवर लाइफ हियर, वी आर नाउ वेगाबॉन्ड, और हम भटक रहे हैं, कहीं ना कहीं भटके जा रहे हैं.
But all hope is not lost. Here's a story of a couple from Chennai who've dedicated their entire lives to unlikely companions, parakeets.
This house will be familiar to those who have seen the movie Mayargan. This is the same house that was shot in the movie. And in real life, a couple have been feeding these parrots every day for the past many years. Their day starts early, spreading soaked rice and groundnuts on the terrace. Wildlife experts describe rose-ring parakeets as social and intelligent birds. Bird watchers from across the world, Japan, the US, and beyond flock to witness this breathtaking sight. To manage the growing crowds, SAR has limited visitors to 25 per day, ensuring the birds aren't disturbed. By feeding them at the same place and time every day, the couple likely became a reliable and familiar presence for the parrots.
என் பேர் parrots சுதர்சன். நான் சென்னை செந்தார்பேட்டை ஏரியாவில் இருக்கிறேன். எனக்கு எப்படி இந்த இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வந்ததுன்னா, ஒரு 15 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி எங்க ஃபாதர் இறந்துட்டாரு. ஃபேமிலி கேர்டேக் பண்ண வேண்டிய நிலைமை வந்துச்சு. அதனால மொட்டை மாடிக்கு வந்து நான் வெயிட் பண்ணும்போது ஒரு அமாவாசைக்கு உணவு அளிச்சிருந்தாங்க. பாதி பறவைகள் தான் சாப்பிட்டது. சரி, நம்ம ஏன் இந்த பறவைக்கு சாப்பாடு போடக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு போட ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டேன். நம்ம வீட்டுக்கு 3000-4000 கிளிங்க வருது. வின்டர்ல 10,000-15,000 கிளிங்க வரும். சொர்க்கத்தையே நான் இங்க வச்சிருக்கிறேன் என் வீட்டுல. நீங்க வந்து பார்க்கலாம்.
யாரும் கொடுக்காத ஒரு மன அமைதியா அவருக்கு கொடுக்குது. சந்தோஷமா இருக்கிறதுக்கு காரணமே கிளிங்க தான்.
போன மாசம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு சின்ன குழந்தை, 3 வயசு குழந்தை, கேன்சர் பேஷண்ட், அவங்க பிளட் கேன்சர். அந்த குழந்தை, அந்த குழந்தைக்கு கடைசி ஆசை இங்க வந்து பார்க்கணும்னு. அவங்க பார்க்கும்போது, அந்த குழந்தை சீக்கும் போது அவங்க அப்பாவோட முகத்துல மகிழ்ச்சி தெரியுது. அந்த சந்தோஷம் எங்களுக்கு இந்த வாழ்க்கை போதுண்டான்னு ஆயிடுது.
I'm Jannat.
ஹாய், நான் பேர் அபிஷேக்.
ஆக்சுவலி நாங்கள் 3 பேருமே மெடிக்கல் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் தான். ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் இந்த மெய்யழகன் மூவி பார்த்து தான் இந்த இடத்த பற்றி தெரியுது.
ஹைதராபாத்லேருந்து வரேன். கூகுளில் சர்ச் பண்ணி பார்த்தேன், லொக்கேஷன் எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சது.
மூவி பார்க்கும்போதே எல்லாருக்குமே தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும், இட்ஸ் அ வெரி பியூட்டிஃபுல் வியூ.
நான் கூகுளில் சர்ச் பண்ணி யூடியூப்ல பார்த்துட்டே இருந்தேன். கண்டிப்பாக இந்த இடத்துக்கு போகணும்ட்டு ஒரு ஆசையாக இருந்தது. இன்னைக்கு எனக்கு சான்ஸ் கிடைச்சது.
வரலான்னு தெரிஞ்ச உடனே லைக் we started messaging him. As he mentioned, like I felt like this is heaven.
எக்ஸாம் எல்லாம் இருந்துச்சு, ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ரெஸ்ஃபுல்லாக இருந்துச்சு. அதனால கொஞ்சம் ரிலீஃபாக இருக்கும் தான் வந்தேன். யூனிக்காக எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸாக இருந்துச்சு.
பார்த்ததுல ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம். அவங்களுக்கு 1000 தேங்க்ஸ் சொல்லிக்கிறேன்.
Before we go, here's an eye-opener on what's taking the lives of young Indian women.
What's killing India's young women? The biggest killer of young women in the 15 to 29 age group is death by suicide. It accounts for the death of 20% young Indian women. Road and other accidents are responsible for 14% of preventable deaths. Cardiovascular diseases cause 9% of deaths, which is the same for young Indian men too.